akıllı şehirler diye devam edeceğiz. Akıllı şehirlerin bilinçli şehirlere uzanan hikayesini dinleyeceğiz şimdi. Ve konferansları için Human Works kurucu ortağı Sayın Canan Atalay'ı davet ediyorum. Ve yine bir fütürist olan rlere bizlerle beraber olacak. Alkışlarla Canan Atalay ve rlere geliyorlar sahneye. Canan Hanım.
Merhaba. Canay.
Canay.
Evet.
Canay Atalay ve rlere. Hoş geldiniz. Buyurunuz, sizi dinliyoruz.
Çok teşekkürler.
Merhaba İstanbul. Good morning.
Merhaba.
How many of you know the concept of a smart city?
Şehir konseptinden haberdar.
Wow, okay. So
Vay,
the concept
oldukça.
of the smart city was
Akıllı
born
şehir
in the beginning of this
konsepti
century.
Bu
And
yüzyılın
it's
başında
actually how
doğmuş
we
bir
can use
kavram.
technology to make our cities improve urban services, to improve transportation, make it more efficient, to make energy also more sufficient and sustainable. Yeah, and also to actually to improve the lives of humans. But we believe with what is happening right now, we can take it a step further. Yeah, because the human should be in the center of actually that development. So if we look at like what is happening right now, we have all these technologies that are coming to us, you know, all the exponential technologies that, you know, improve our lives in so many ways, that create so much wealth and luxury and prosperity for us. But at the same time, they are also a mirror to us. Yeah? So, and they will become, as technology increases, more and more a mirror of what it means to be human. So I'm going to start with this video here. Oops, clicker. Here we go. How many of you recognize this? This is the video from E-Wally from 10 years ago. And actually this is a utopian or dystopian scene in that movie, depending on how you look at the future. But I choose it because it's a very important message that we see in there. We are creating, and we have created, this consumer society where everything is very addictive. Yeah? So we're addicted to food, to fast food. We're addicted already to ordering food from our mobile phone. We're addicted to infotainment. We're addicted to knowledge. We're addicted to social media. And at the same time, we need to think like, where does it go? Yeah, because this society also creates a lot of challenges for humanity. For example, in most of the OECD countries, 1 in 2 people are obese or overweight, yeah, due to this culture. How much is in Turkey?
For example, in Turkey, 1 out of 8 children is either obese or overweight. And actually, obesity is not just about what we eat. It is also about not being mobile. According to the research, Always Connected research, children from 8 to 10 years old spend, on average, every day, 5.5 hours in front of screens. And actually, in total, this is 8 hours because they are using more than one screen. Like, they are playing mobile games on their phones while watching TV.
So yeah, the big challenge, I think, for us as a humanity is not that we are creating robots, yeah, that are going to do the work that we don't like, yeah, or most of the repetitive tasks. I think that is very good. But one of the big challenges is that we start behaving like robots. Like, how many of you wake up and the first thing they do is watching their phone instead of kissing their lover? Hello?
This is a healthy audience.
Yes. So, yeah, let's have a deeper look of what it means to be conscious and how we can create more consciousness. So we have more challenges as humans on this planet. Yeah, coming from 7 billion in 2010 to 10 billion people in 2050. And most of these people, 75% of these people, will live in cities. So our cities are already like full everywhere, and we're going to get more people into these cities. So how can we build more sustainable cities and good, healthy living spaces for us human beings? At the same time, the output of this consumer society, we start also seeing like, what it does to our planet. Yeah, this is, for example, the container ships that all the goods that are produced in China travel over water around the globe, and it does tremendous pollution to our oceans. Every year, thousands of fish species are already dying. Yeah, these container ships, they use bunker fuel, which is 1,000 times more polluting than normal fuel. So also plastic pollution. Yeah, 300 million tons of plastic are produced every year. Coca-Cola alone produces 100 billion plastic bottles every year. So that's 1/5 of the global production. But what we see now in latest research is we see microplastics, yeah, the erosion of this plastic through the sun and the water and in the earth, yeah, and they come into our food cycle. Back in our food cycle, because the fish eat them and then we start eating them. We have found them already in placenta of mothers. So the thing is also that only 9% of these plastics are recycled at the moment. 91% of these plastics go back in the air, in the sea, or in the landfills. So we need to think very different and in circular type of economies. If you see now what is happening with Greta Thunberg and the manifestations that you see in Europe, and they are now expanding to US, Canada, and even Australia, is this movement of, you know, the young generation cannot take this any longer. And they are right also, because we are playing with their future. Every child has the right on a clean air and a clean planet. Yeah, so, but that's not only it. So they also refuse to go to school, because they say, why would I go to school if I have to learn the same knowledge that put us in this situation? So we need to change and think entirely different. We need to move to different type of systemic thinking of how we can do things differently, not to make the same mistakes. So she's already like, you know, stopped flying, she only travels by train, she become vegan, stopped eating meat and dairy. Meat is one of the biggest polluters. For 1 kilo of meat, it takes 15,000 liters of water. Yeah? So that's, it's one of the biggest contributors to climate change. And also they stop consuming and buying things, because in fashion clothes there's a lot of nylon, which is also very polluting. So, Cina, you want to say something on this one?
I think we are all familiar with this. In Istanbul, every day we are spending 1 hour extra in the traffic. Istanbul ranks top 6th in the worst traffic jams in the world, which then brings us a total sum of 22 working days annually that we are spending in traffic. And actually, we can spend it as a vacation with our loved ones. So, yeah.
Yeah, did you know, by the way, that we use our car only 4% of the time? 96% of the time, our cars are parked. We drive our children to school, and our wife does the same. Then we go to work, and our car is parked. So in big cities, 30% of the spaces in big cities is taken by parking spaces. So that's why we need new systems, we need more efficient transportation, we need this sharing economy, we need, you know, also move to more energy, green energy type of transportation systems. In many cities they start already doing that by investing a lot in electric buses, for example, and we really need to change that.
And actually, these are the visible outcomes of traffic. According to research, the children driven in cars more in traffic have a tendency to develop a perception that the world is a dangerous place. If a child grows up thinking that the world is a dangerous place, they cannot end up taking risks, they cannot be innovative, they cannot be creative, they cannot be entrepreneurs. So we are basically toxicating the next generations, not just by polluting the air, but also polluting their assumptions about the world.
On this video, we see the back office of the convenience society. So everything that we can order now from our mobile phone, this is a new retail store in the UK, which takes now 65,000 orders per week already. Everything is fully automated. So by using technologies such as robotics, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, they can, you know, increase productivity and make everything more efficient. We see hardly any humans here on the workflow, just the ones that put the robots on the rails. So, but this is also an effect of this consumer society. We will see our cities and our society tremendously changing, yeah, by all this use of technology. And we are just at the beginning of this. So if you look at artificial intelligence, the buzzword of today, but all the major companies are now heavily investing in artificial intelligence and machine learning because we cannot analyze the data any longer as human beings. There's so much data from our phones, our laptops, and then all the sensors that we now put in place that we need machine learning that can actually learn from the data and show us, different type of solutions. What is important, though, is that we code with human values. Yeah, so systems should be designed and operated and compatible with ideas of human dignity, rights, freedoms, and cultural diversity.
Before on this stage, there were sultans of Turkey. I truly congratulate them, these youngsters who are doing amazing things with robotics. But I felt extra happy because most of the team was girls. So right now, when we look at the artificial intelligence and the whole codes written, 80% of them are written by men. And we need more women writing codes. We need more women designing with technologies because the future needs more feminine energy, more holistic thinking, more inclusiveness, more nourishment, more care. Thank you, Sultans of Turkey.
So yeah, we also need to code for shared benefit and prosperity, to empower as many people as possible. Yeah, so also ecosystem thinking, we need to think holistically because everything is connected. With data, we know that we can connect everything, and with all these sensors and Internet of Things, we will see that everything is connected. And any sector cannot just keep thinking in silos any longer because we will also see new opportunities in between those silos. And then also we need responsibility. The people who code needs to be accountable for what they code. So as a quote from Erik Brynjolfsson, who's the director of MIT of digital economy, he says the choice isn't between automation and non-automation, it's between whether we use the technology in a way that creates shared prosperity, yeah, and also more concentration of wealth. Currently, we're in the more concentration of wealth mode, and this you can see on this slide. All the data we use, if we say data is the new oil, you have heard that term already, yeah, then we see where that oil and where that money is going. All the apps that we use, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Intel, Google, and so on, all that value goes back to Silicon Valley. And then Asia also has a lot of value because they invest heavily in technology and they have big populations with China. If you look at Europe, we have SAP and Spotify, probably Turkey is somewhere in between. So, but this is very important that everything we build in our cities and everything we build in the future, that we can own that data and that we can build new business models with that. Not that that data or that value goes somewhere else, because also these companies don't pay taxes in our countries. Yeah, they create jobs, but still the taxes are used to build, new education systems, new roads, and all that things. So if you look at the Internet of Things, this is a slide from a Spanish startup, Libelium, and they actually develop all the sensors. So here you can see all the sensors that are possible now, what we can measure, from wine quality, air pollution, smartphone detection, electromagnetic levels, traffic congestion, smart roads, smart lighting, water leakages, waste management, water quality, and so on. And this is a great thing, because now we can measure actually what we are doing to ourselves. Yeah, we can measure pollution, we can measure, and then when we can measure, we can find solutions for it. Oops, that was the back button. So also intelligent buildings with Internet of Things and IoT and AI, we can build smarter buildings. This is currently the smartest building in the world. It's called The Edge in Amsterdam. It's a project by Deloitte and some local partners, and it's 98% sustainable. It's entirely energy or solar powered. The water is recuperated, rainwater is recuperated and used as wastewater. And the building is entirely connected. As soon as you're driving with your car, the building knows you're there. And every employee has an app that they can actually manage their space. They can manage their meetings, whether it's a one-on-one meeting, whether they need a meeting space or in the cafeteria. When they have meeting spaces, they can also control the lighting, the heat, the temperature, and all these things. So we need more of these buildings, and very quickly, to actually reduce our carbon footprint of the cities. The other hype word is the blockchain. How many of you are working with blockchain? A few. So the blockchain, I'm not going to go too technical, is basically a layer of trust that we are building on top of the internet. It's actually a new internet that we are building. And its characteristics is that it's decentralized. Yeah? So no power is centralized any longer that we used to have. So every action can be centralized. And what is important that we can put the citizen at the center of what he does. We can own our own data. As of now, we don't own our own data. The companies, we give our data to the companies and they do with it what they want and they make money with it, which is okay if you're fine with it, but many people are not okay with that. Especially in health and insurance, the further we go in the future, it's very important that we own our data and we can grant that data to the doctor, to the hospital, to the insurance companies whenever we feel or we need that. So a couple of examples also in the food sector. Yeah, with the blockchain and IoT, we can trace everything what comes in our plate. You know, from the quality of the soils, the chemicals or the organic food that is used, to the vitamin level, to also the CO2 output of the distribution of bringing that food towards our plate. So, which will create a further and further transparency of products. Here, WePower, we can see that you can also start selling and buying energy or green energy through the blockchain. So consciousness of a city.
Conscious cities is not a new concept. Center of Conscious Design has been using this terminology since 2015. And conscious city means a city that is aware of itself, learning from data, by centering the human well-being in its core. Using artificial intelligence, science-based data, IoT, and all these new technologies, combining it with disciplines like neuroscience, psychology, technology design, urban planning, also architecture. They want to improve the well-being of the citizen using all this technology and data. Also, making cities healthier, more democratic and sustainable is the core of conscious city concept.
As you can see in this image here, this is a project, it's called the Forest City, which is a new city to be developed in Malaysia near Singapore. And they bought a land space of 240 square kilometers, and they're going to host 700,000 people. So what is amazing about this plan is that everything is actually going to a consciousness of like with the human at the center. So they bring in back trees into the city because trees are the only organism on Earth that can actually neutralize carbon dioxide. They create vertical farming. Yeah, so we have a lot of vertical farming now, indoor farming, that are also very good solutions for the cities. And they work on every level of sustainability. Very efficient transport and green transport, and you hardly see any cars actually in the middle of that city. And you see the urban place in the center is actually the center of the city. Here you can see actually how they use actually 80% of everything that is produced in that city will be reused. So entirely recycled from the water, and other products. So they use different technologies as renewable energy, geothermal energy, local markets, urban farms, and so on. Here, this is a very interesting slide of how typical cities are built. On the top left, you can see typical city skyline with central icons. Top right, the inverse city skyline, which goes like this. And on the bottom left, you can see object is the city center. So the design of the future is more towards center of the city as a public space. Yeah? So we put the public space again at the center, and we built the buildings around it. Now we're just building like, you know, buildings, and a shopping center underneath. You know, that's not very sustainable. Because as human beings, we need nature. Yeah? Children need nature. You know, in Istanbul, it's very hard to see actually that there's very few natural spaces left for children to play outdoors. If children play outdoors, we don't have ADHD. Yeah? all these new diseases that we have now, these children diseases, they did not exist, you know, a couple of decades ago because children were playing outdoors. So we need to also work towards very sustainable concepts for us human beings that we can live and healthy and also happily in these societies. Here is another example from Barcelona where actually in 1 square kilometer they created an entire hyper-local ecosystem, yeah, where everything that is produced is local. So we don't have any bottles of water that are delivered or from the other side of the country to where we live. No, they produce everything locally and everything is based on local needs and not on stock anymore, which is the current economic system that we live in now. So there are cities that are experimenting with these new models and it's very interesting to follow their research and results. So another important fact for cities is that a child born today with all the technology that we have now, yeah, with the genetics and technological innovations with nanotech and all that in the medical field, is going to live or is estimated to live 142 years old. Yeah? At the same time, the elderly generation gets older and older. Yeah? We are fitter due to also the improved health systems. We live longer. Yeah? So I think as of now it's 80 years, more or less. But in another 50 years it's going to be 100 years. The thing is, society is totally not prepared for that. I don't hear any politician actually talking about that. And we should be thinking about how we're going to develop this type of society, yeah, and how we're going to be inclusive for everyone that's going to live longer. Yeah, so I am 58 years old. My father, he went on pre-pension at 55. I can see myself still working another 20 years and stay in good health because I love what I do. Yeah, so we need to adapt all our current systems also to this new demographic changes. If you look at the rate of automation, this is a slide from the Future of Jobs reports from World Economic Forum. In 2018, machines were employed 29%, yeah, in division of labor as share of hours spent. In 2022, it's going to be 42%, and by 2025, 52%. This is how fast the rate of automation is going, yeah, in the Western countries. If you look at the skills outlook of the growing skills that we need to compete in the future, on the left you can see all the skills that we will need, and on the right you can see all the skills that are declining. The great thing is that all the skills that you see in yellow are active learning and learning strategies, creativity, originality, initiative, critical thinking, leadership, social influence, emotional intelligence, reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. And these are all typical human traits, human characteristics that cannot be copied by automation or robots and AI. And so on one hand, I see a future where we have all the technological development that we can use for the benefit of humanity. And on the other side, we will develop an entire new economy based on those skills. I truly believe that. If you look at this slide, we see on the bottom environment behavior capabilities. On the bottom, we see actually how people and how companies and governments are actually reacting to what is. Yeah? So we always react to external impulses. Yeah? But actually what needs to happen, everybody's talking about digital transformation, but what needs to happen is personal transformation. We need to be able to change our values and beliefs, our identity and our purpose. You know, the reinvention of ourselves can lead to new ideas and new transformations in the future. So this is a slide where you can actually see the three potential futures that we see happening. On the right side, you see the utopian one, which is technology will save us, which is singularity, university, and all that. Everything that's technology will actually be beneficial for humanity. On the left, you can see the dystopian view, yeah, which is technology will rule us. Yeah? But fear is not the right driver, never for healthy human growth. In the middle, we think there's a conscious future where we can use technology for the benefit of humanity. So what we do at Human Works, we actually use a template which is called the Conscious Business Model Canvas, which is based on the Startup Canvas, and Janai can tell a bit more about that.
Thank you. So, Conscious Business Model Design and Innovation is a key learning program that we share with innovation leaders. As Rudy said, we need to reinvent ourselves. That's the most important thing. That goes to our governments, that goes to our municipalities and our businesses. We need to think of new roles. And in this very ambiguous and fastly changing world, we start with human values, because businesses come and go and community values live. So based on human values and the future forecasts about the societal and technological trends, we help innovation leaders to design new value propositions, not just for their target audiences, but as collaborative partners in their ecosystems. And then we help them how their business, how their projects, initiatives can actually serve the local and global needs. And what are the new metrics to measure this new type of success beyond profits and quarterly growths? We also look at how we can prototype these business models using new economies such as sharing economy, gig, maker, experience, and circular economies, how to make cities more sustainable and more future flexible. And after, of course, prototyping, the most important thing is what are the new activities to transform your culture that will allow an innovation approach on a daily basis? What are the new communication rituals? What are the team new structures that everybody can take a new role and they can prepare for their new roles in the future in an automized world? So over 15 years of work in design, innovation and technology, I have witnessed over and over again around the world, there are two main things that we need to achieve to create sustainable, meaningful, and not disruptive, but contributive innovation. The first thing we need to achieve is thinking radically different. As humans, we are addicted to our own thoughts. We keep on repeating the same thoughts, which gives us a lot of difficulty to even listening to each other. Yet alone, we are talking about communication. So how can we break through our addictive thoughts that come from our cultures, our learning systems, so that we can create new worlds? The second thing that we need to achieve is worldwide collaboration. Stop thinking in silos, in your departments, in your organizations, even in cities and countries. With climate change, with refugee crisis, with increasing nationalism around the world, we are on this ship together and we need to collaborate globally and we need to represent our cities and countries with global mindsets. Nothing achieved these things so far. So, thank you. We have been thinking about, okay, what can create a global collaboration motivation? What can inspire us to think radically different so we are not scared of change anymore and we are willing to do so? And we found out that actually this very important, precious thing, something that is cosmically rare and actually growing, flourishing on earth in front of our eyes, are children. When we focus on the well-being of children, when we start including them in our innovation processes, we discovered not only we can think radically new, but also we can collaborate in our countries and also globally. So with this insight, we started working with children. Can I see how many people here are under the age of 18? Cool. We are talking about your future, so yes, you should be here and you should be on the stage talking on behalf of us, actually, on all of us. So we started listening to children. We talked with children with more than 20 countries, and we came up with a Children First World Innovation Compass, which became a guideline, methodologies, and academy that we are doing, and also a manifesto. The basic promise of Children First World is helping leaders put the well-being of children in their all decisions, but also including children in their design processes, which is not an easy task by looking at the current examples. So, this is the a manifesto we wrote with children from 20 countries. What children want from adults is first, they want to trust. They want adults to put children first in all decisions they are making. Actually, this is nothing new. The United Nations Children's Rights starts with this item. But guess what? The children's rights are most frequently and widely violated human rights among all rights. Be transparent about our impact on their well-being. How can we communicate simpler? What does innovation even mean for children? We need to start making things simpler, communicate with them, and be honest with the impacts that are coming with blockchain, with climate change, and be the model of what we tell them to be. So this is the most important. We tell them to be responsible citizens. We tell them not to use plastic. And what do? Do we become the role models of what we are telling with our companies and as leaders? The second part is let's grow. Listening to children with an open mind. This is so important. When we can do that, we become new. We become new people. We think fresh. We think out of the box. Giving them freedom to stay curious and enjoy life. And also letting them making mistakes and deciding for themselves. Our education system actually is doing the opposite. We are punishing, making mistakes, and we are killing the creativity and the courage out of the children. The third pillar is let's create. Children are our future and let's design it together. I don't understand why we don't include children in the design of new technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and IoT. These are very new technologies and we don't have a lot of experience and knowledge gap between children. We don't need to send them to schools and expect them to wait 24 years to start getting engaged in their life decisions. It is today that we need to include children in our designs. We dream new worlds, follow us to go beyond. This is what children tell to adults. You know, children are way more creative than us. The geniusity of 3 to 5 year olds in creativity is 98%. This is a NASA survey by Dr. George Land. When we become adults, it just is 2% creative geniusity. So why are we trying to create things on behalf of children for their future that they are going to live in? We need to learn and get inspired and remember what it means to be creative and curious from children. Allow us to dream before we code and build. It is so popular. We code, we build. But the dreaming part, this is what we need. Remembering everything is actually possible when we can think and dream about it, because we see that now we can travel to other planets even. Why not? So dreaming is an important part we need to put in our education system, in our workplaces, also in our city designs. And let's play. This manifesto is not only for children, also for our inner children. Let's remember our inner children and let's live with love and joy. Let's remember why we are here, why we are designing new cities, why we are doing innovation. Embracing our emotions so that our children can embrace emotions. What machines cannot replicate, they cannot mimic our emotions, they cannot feel the way we do. So let's stop trying to design machines that look like and act like humans. Instead, let's own our own emotions. Let's bring in more feminine energy in the workplace. Accept yourself, us, and others as we are. This is the last but the most important manifesto principle. Because what we are doing right now is we are being separated with illusions between us. But what children want is actually to be accepted as they are, without waiting to be grown up. Because guess what? They are full humans in their own form and shape and capabilities. So let's start embracing each other as we are. But what does it mean, actually, this manifesto, if we are to apply it to a city design? Right now, out of 4 billion people, 1/3 of them are children living in urban areas. By 2050, 70% of the children will be living in cities, mainly in suburbs. So this is actually a great opportunity for us to see cities from a different perspective. Instead of seeing them as problems to be solved and fixed, we can see them as a great opportunity to bring better services by focusing on children. What is a city that empowers trust? It is a human right, but children most deserve it. A clean air, clean water, and natural food to eat. These are basic human needs. When we focus on this as the most important items, the KPIs, we can all start acting different in our ecosystems. But despite the old maxim, children also need to be seen and heard. So we should rethink, reimagine cities don't overshadow children. Because when they are seen and heard, they become more courageous, they become more conscious about themselves, so they can start engaging with their environment, and they can be curious to design new solutions for their own neighborhood. And this is also good for business, actually. Every $1 invested on early play-based education brings back $8 of social benefits to the whole society. This is a research from University College of London. So it brings a new, fresh perspective to designers, to mayors, to all decision makers, to architects who are into urban planning. What about growth? We know that education is not limited to schools or workplaces anymore. What if a city encourages learning so that children not only look at what's going on and grow up to be critical about their environment, they can become a part of the solution. Most of the children are not heard. We never listen to them because they cannot vote. But even cars and inanimate objects have a more saying in the city designs. And we end up with car-first city designs instead of a children-first city design. And engaging children from early ages onwards help them to grow actually as conscious citizens, conscious leaders, which gives amazing opportunities to all of us to flourish. The philosopher, mathematician, and quantum physicist John Dewey once said, "Give pupils something to do, not something to learn." Because when they are in the action of doing something, by nature, they learn from it. We need to redefine learning and learning together. And what about creating areas that children and teenagers can take some positive risk, making everything easy and safe? This is good. But also, as humans, like in nature, we need to flourish. So we need to create cultures that also encourages taking positive risks. The third part is cities that encourage creation. Now we know that with technology, with games like Minecraft, children are already designing new worlds. But empowering them to design for their own city in actual projects is so important. Because as said, they are more creative than us and they can think out of the box. But let me ask you a question. If you are not including children in the design of cities, which is 1/4 of the population, who else you're not listening? What about people with color, immigrants, elderly? What about people who are handicapped? If you are not listening to these people, we are not actually designing cities that are good for all. We need to be inclusive, and that starts with children. Of course, play. Last but not the least. When we are playing, we are in joy, but we are on another level where we can learn better. Einstein once said that play is the ultimate research, because then we break down our barriers of prejudices and we can embrace each other. We can embrace new information, especially with cities like Istanbul. What if we bring more play, more emotions into society so that we can embrace each other and increase the tolerance? We have a methodology, we developed a methodology inspired by children. It is called design playing. Design playing is all about bringing out the curiosity, the creativity, and putting them in action really fast, holistically, in an inclusive way. This method is developed by HumanWorks and initiated by our design leader, Meir Ben-Ezra. And it has 6 steps: join, explore, dream, design, make, and show. Let's now imagine how to design a conscious city using design playing. Let's start with join. We said inclusive design needs joining of everybody. So how can we bring in children? How can we bring in elderly and different people together with human-to-human connections? This is so important. And it should start before any design process. We should bring people together. And thanks to technology, now we have the chance to put in platforms where we can combine people. But human-to-human is still very important. Exploration. We know from design thinking that exploring what others think, what are their behaviors, is very important. But different to that, only in design playing, we look into our consciousness on 3 levels. One is, what are we thinking? What are we thinking about the current problems, and what are the thoughts that we inherited that causes the problems? So we use the methodologies like Socratic dialogue, which brings a new level of creativity. We use our emotions. Exploring means also, what am I feeling? What do I want? And as a community, what do we want to create? Also, the physical activities is very important. If you are going to design a city that is inclusive for everybody, I suggest take a wheelchair and start rolling around Istanbul streets. I wonder how long you can go. We need to go out. We need to step in with our bodies into that. Dream part. Let's break through of what is, and this has always been done this way, mindsets. In dream process, we are not interested in problem solving, because problems are created by the old thinking. So let's allow ourselves to imagine new worlds with the inclusion of children. Design. Now we have these abstract dreams. How we can make dreams flourish in what type of settings? Design is not just about designing products and services. Design is also about what type of environments we need to create, what type of cultures, what type of communication rituals, and what type of business models we can create to make these dreams come alive and sustain. Make. How many of you know about prototyping? Can I see the hands? Prototyping. Okay, hopefully next year all hands go up, because in this very fastly changing world, we all need to know how to prototype things. Commonly, people think that you need to use a lot of technology and you need to invest a lot to make prototypes, but it is, I'm telling you, as easy as to sketch on a paper, to get some opinions, navigate through your ideas with other people and iterate it. Prototyping is so much fun, but it is to prove actually that you are wrong, so that you can take less risk and be more agile. And the final part is show. This is something we miss all the time. Everybody in their silos doing innovation jobs, but instead we say, put it out there. Even if it's, you think, not achieving the results that you want, put it out there, share your learnings so that you can trigger other people to join to your design process. And celebration. This is not a step on our design playing, but it is something we care a lot, because in all communities, in all cultures, celebration is very important. It is about closing cycles. It's about opening new cycles. It is a human need so that we can connect and we can share our joy as well as our fears, and we can heal each other. So when we are going through cultural shocks like this disruptive technology, when we are going through global crisis or some local incidents like traumatizing incidents, and in Turkey we don't lack any of them, let's celebrate together that we are here now with our cultural elements and bring people together, Let's just don't look at what we don't have, but be grateful about what we have and what we learned. As we are coming to the end of our presentation, I want to share with you the beginning of my story on this planet. I was put in an incubator when I was born because I had blood incompatibility with my mother. For 2 days, I had no connection with any human, including my mother and my dad. The only human hand touched to me, my mother tells, was a doctor with gloves on. And when we are talking about smart cities with a lot of technology, sensing, quantifying people with data, diminishing the value of humans, I always remember babies in incubators. It is not a human story. It can be easy, it can be comfortable, it can be helpful. But let's remember what we are leaving carelessly behind and what we want to carry forward. I must be very happy when I was in the loving arms of my mom on the 3rd day. We know that as humans, we need connection. Being rootedness, says philosopher Simon Weil, may be the most important but the least recognized human need of all. We don't need an ideal platonic city to achieve this. Like, we don't need to be super beautiful, wealthy to be loved and to share love. Cities can focus on simple things, simple human needs, such as community engagements and meaningful connections. Maybe moving flexibly around the city, walking around the city in my neighborhood, eating local food, knowing the names of my neighbors, volunteering, and enjoying exploring nature is all we need. So I ask you, please next time, while making a decision, remember the faces of children. Or even better, remember your own face when you were a child. And ask yourself, is this decision that I am about to make good for these children? Is it going to make them happy? If your answer is yes, keep doing it. But if no, don't do it. Because conscious cities need happy children. When children are happy, we are all happy. Because after all, we are all children first. As Human Works, we are working with children around the world. We are doing academies for leaders. But it needs more than us. We know, and it should be, and it is. This movement is bigger than us. If you want to start applying children first principles in your business, in your city, in your organization, in your community, please connect to us. It needs a village to raise a child. And thank you for listening to us.
Teşekkürler. Thank you.
Canay Atalay ve Rulide Vael'e çok teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you.
Bu harika sunum için.
Teşekkürler.
Bu son sizin hikaye başlangıcınız çok derinden etkiledi. Çünkü siz 3 günle kurtulmuşsunuz. Benim çocuklarım 23 gün kuvözde kaldılar ve
İyilermiş şimdi.
İyiler. 3 yaşındalar. İkizler 23 gün kuvözde. Onun için insanların birbirine dokunması gerektiğini söylediğinizde gerçekten eminim ki bu sahnede bizimle birlikte olan, auditoriumda oturan izleyicilerimiz ne demek istediğinizi anlamışlardır.
Hepimiz önce çocuğuz.
Hepimiz önce çocuğuz ve sevgiye ve ilgiye ve dokunmaya ihtiyacımız var. Buna muhtacız. Ne olursa olsun. O zaman bunun bir nişanesi olarak Rudy'ye de sarılalım ya. Hug.
Çok teşekkürler.
Thank you.
We love each other.